Hello out there, and pretty exciting video to make today because recently I have added another Benchmade mini Griptilian to my collection. And for those of you who don't know, I have been trying to hunt down a mini grip in every type of steel that it has ever been produced in. And this past week I was fortunate enough to get another one, a ninth one, to add to the family. The one that's in front of you today is the first one I ever had, the standard 556 in 154 cm. This is my first mini grip, my first Benchmade, and yeah, one that is just near and dear to me. And from this one, just the obsession and the collection was spawned. And the one that I picked up this past week is right here, a 555. But what makes it special, what makes it unique, is this right here, N680. And I know for those of you who are waiting to see a Grail or just something really fancy and rare, you might be a little bit underwhelmed right now because N680 is definitely not a like trendy steel. It isn't a steel that people just have to get their hands on. It isn't something particularly expensive or particularly hard to find in a lot of models. But in mini Griptilians, it is unusual. It was widely available, but just not popular for a long time, and then it went away, and I had a bear of a time getting it. And so today's video is going to be about that. It's going to be about the process of getting this knife and the people who made it happen for me. The main person is Zach from Zach Stuff, and I'm probably going to say thank you to him about a dozen times over the course of this video. But yeah, I'm going to tell the story of how this came to be and how I was able to get this. And then I will go through all of the collection as it currently stands, and I'll annotate to the time where that will start. If you just want to skip the story and see the collection, by all means, please do. But if you want to stick around and hear about the N680 mini Griptilian, yeah, let's just get into that. So N680 is a steel that is not really anything particularly high-end. It is a really super corrosion-resistant steel, but even among corrosion-resistant steels, it's not the best, you know. There's another, like, a little bit better N680 out there, and that's called N690. It's the one that's on this steel wheel mini gecko. Those two steels are actually a lot more different than just the numbers there would indicate. N690 seems to perform a whole lot better in terms of wear resistant and yeah, maintains its edge a whole lot longer than N680. So why is N680 so appealing? Well, it isn't. That's sort of what makes it rare and unusual, like I said. For a long time, N680 was on the Benchmade custom shop on the Benchmade website. So you could go and you could pick up a Griptilian or a mini Griptilian, or I think even a Barrage in N680 if you so chose. But the thing of it was that no one ever chose that. I think at some point there was a 551, a full-size Griptilian in N680. The H2O version, I think, ran with that steel for a while, and then, you know, it just sort of went away, and it was on the custom shop for a long time, and I was, you know, in the middle of, you know, chasing down, I'm sure, a bunch of other knives, and then when it came to mini Griptilians, I saw that it was on the custom site, but it was just always there, and there was always something a little bit more appealing, you know, a little bit more, like, trendy that I wanted to hunt down, whether it be M390 or a gold class or M4 or whatever it is that I was looking for. N680 just didn't seem all that important. And then eventually they overhauled that custom site, and N680 went away, and all of a sudden it became something I really needed and wasn't able to get anymore. You know, they updated it. They brought in M4 as an option on the custom site, but N680 went away, and there goes that option. And when I was at Blade Show in Atlanta back in June, I spent some time at the Benchmade booth. I actually mentioned this in my recap video all that time ago. I spent some time at the Benchmade booth and sort of planted the seeds of how I could go about getting a mini grip in N680 still, because it was discontinued and gone and was just off the table. And one of the ladies who was working the Benchmade booth, she sort of explained to me why. She said that nobody, like literally only 4 people had ever gotten a Benchmade mini Griptilian. And she said that offhand and off the cuff, so how accurate that number was, I don't really know. Maybe she knew exactly, or maybe she was just like estimating or embellishing, who knows. But the point is that no one was ordering these knives. Not this way, at least. You know, S30V, D2, 154cm, all much more appealing. And so that's why they got rid of it. And I, sort of networked a little bit with her and a couple other people at the booth and got some contact information. And after Blade Show, I started sending some emails and saying, what do I have to do? How can I go about this? Like, is it possible to find this steel in a mini Griptilian blade anymore? And I got responses, and Benchmade has always been really cool, and they were nice, and they were looking into it, and I was going back and forth, and people were looking into like the feasibility of it, and are these blades available? And when stuff gets discontinued, I guess my understanding is it just isn't as easy as just walking down and picking one out of a drawer and putting it onto a blade. There was there were a number of people involved that had to try to make this happen, and obviously these guys have full-time jobs and they're busy doing other stuff, and just like one guy who's pestering them about one specific blade, it's sometimes going to fall through the cracks. And so I was sort of reaching a dead end when Zach from Zach Stuff found out about my dilemma. So Zach is a guy that I came across and I started following because his content is good. That was really it. I watched his videos, I liked them, I subscribed, I think I commented, and we just started chatting back and forth and became friends the way people do. And I started just chatting with him on Instagram back and forth, and eventually I mentioned that I was looking for an N680 mini Griptilian, and he happens to live very close to the Benchmade factory and like the home office there, and knows a couple people, and he offered to try to grease the wheels and see what he could find out. And so he took it upon himself, with no real personal benefit, to take time out of his day on numerous occasions to check up on what the status was and the feasibility of making this happen. And now it's in my hands. So yeah, this 100% would not have happened without him. So God, I can't even say thank you to that guy enough. And so I give him shout outs because his channel's really good, but also from here on out, I mean, he's a stand-up guy, and everybody who's watching this, I'm sure, can understand that getting this knife in my hands was something that once they took it off that custom shop, I really didn't think there was much of a chance that it would ever happen. And the only reason why it did was, well, sure, because of the really good people at Benchmade and their willingness to do it, but like I said, he was the one who really greased the wheels and made it a real possibility. So definitely my thanks to him for that. So yeah, very cool with this N680. And now, we'll just start to transition into what the rest of the collection is, the other 8. So we have N680, and then I already showed you the 154cm, 556, another 556, the most used one probably is the D2 one. And then I think there's a couple more 556s, but this one is in M4, CPM M4. Now, 154cm is the base model steel, like the base for the mini Griptilian. D2 is available on the custom shop, but there's also been a number of like limited runs or exclusive runs in D2 for like Cabela's or like other outdoor stores or just certain places in particular where you can get them. So the D2 one isn't unusual at all. When it comes to M4 though, M4, like I said, also available on the custom shop, but there have been some limited runs in M4. There is a gold class mini Griptilian in M4 also, and a Doug Ritter in M4. So a lot of options to get M4 when it comes to the mini Griptilians. Next, CPM 20CV. So this is the 555-1 with the G10 handle scales. And I believe this was the first, if I can get this focused, there we go, somewhat. The first full production mini Griptilian to have like an open frame. So this one is a very cool one. There's also 20CV. I think that's available on the custom shop now. I'm not sure. I haven't checked there recently, but there is also a newer titanium limited edition one that is in the same steel, and that one seems pretty cool. Then I have the Ritter Griptilian, the mini Griptilian in M390. This one has Death of All Things custom carbon fiber scales with like purple G10. I have been told from a number of people that this is the best one that I have, and it is very hard to argue against that. Just very classy looking knife, great blade shape, scales are great, so this one is definitely one of the favorites. I do not know of any standard 555s or 556s though in M390. I don't think they exist yet. All right, the next two we're going to bring in at the same time. We have 440C and S30V. And the reason why we're bringing these in at the same time, for those of you who don't know, is that the 440C blade, the safety blade for display purposes only that you can see here, this was originally on that set of clear scales that's down below with the S30V blade. So originally this blade was a dummy, it wasn't sharp, it was just for display purposes where like a distributor or a dealer would have this in like a store, and you could see the clear scales with the 440C dummy blade. You could see how the axis lock mechanism worked. These clear scales are not really meant to be used or to be put on a knife. They crack really easily. They're thin and flimsy, not really intended for any kind of long-term durability, and so they sort of get crappy. But they are rare and they are unique, and man, they are pretty darn cool. So yeah, so this is the S30V one. This is sort of like a Frankenstein kind of like testing blade. I'm not sure what the end result for this one is going to be. It's not sharp at all at this point, just sort of been like messed with, but yeah, it's got some blue titanium hardware, so who knows what the future is. But yeah, S30V 440C. 440C was like the base steel when it first came out, the mini Griptilian, so there were a lot of these in 440C. S30V, I think there might have been a couple limited runs, but this was a blacked out blade originally, and I think this was from the custom shop. I don't know where else this one would have come from. Finally, the last one that I have, I think I hit all the rest of them. The last one that I have is in S90V, and this is the gold class. And there have been a couple mini Griptilian gold classes. This one, though, is the only one in S90V. The other one that I know of is an M4. And so this is the only run of S90 that I know Mini Grip has ever been in, which is why it had to be part of the collection. Honestly, I think the limited run, like CPM 20CV from this past year with titanium and also the M4 titanium gold class might be better looking knives, if we're just being straightforward and honest. But again, for the sake of all the steels, this had to be the one that I went with. And I still really like it, and this is one of the very few knives that just almost never leaves the house. You know, there's a lot of knives that don't get put into rotation because I just have a lot and they just get forgotten about or left behind, but not very many on principle that I don't carry or use, and this one maybe has been put in the pocket like 2 or 3 times, and that's it. So yeah, I think that's all of them. So what's left, if you're interested, what other steels are left? The only steel that I know of that I don't have is called M2HS, and that's in a Doug Ritter Mini Griptilian limited run. It was like a black coated blade, and that one's really hard to come by. That one is expensive when you see it, and yeah, it's hard to find, and hopefully I eventually get it. But honestly, I'm not too worried about that one because I see them pop up every now and then, but I never see these. And that's why getting this knife, even though probably of all the steels next to 440C, it's the least desirable steel, it's still just a very important and, for me, sentimentally valuable steel to be able to get, because I just thought it was off the table and never going to happen. So yeah, just very, very cool. Very fortunate to have been able to get that. A couple other mini grips I am interested in. I'm interested in some of the other limited editions that are out there, even if they are in the same steel that I already have. And I'm definitely interested in one of the original like 440C first production ones with the oval thumb hole, which is what they came in when they first started. So yeah, that's really it, guys. I just wanted to share the collection with you and talk about the whole experience and the journey to get this one right here in N680. Just awesome. I mean, so often when good deeds are done for people, we credit the community and not the person who did them. We say, oh, well, they're part of our community and the community is great because of them. And sure, there's a lot of relevance there when you're thinking about things that way, but it isn't the community that did this for me. It was Zach, and it's just a kindness that, again, I just can't say thank you enough for. So yeah, Zach, I really appreciate it, buddy. Hopefully a lot more people start checking out your channel because you're doing some good stuff over there too. So anyway, guys, yeah, link to Zach down below. Check him out. And yeah, any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know. Let me know down below. Let me know which one of these is your favorite, which one you think is the coolest, which one you think I should go for next. All right. Thanks for watching, though. Take care, and I will talk with you soon. Have a good one.